still wearing his varsity jacket, but had a reverse horseshoe haircut and was just like screaming, class of 95, like drunk at the bar.
Yeah.
So that it takes me back there. But as we are here, we are in the vault. I'm sitting here with the beautiful Brandi Condon, and we are discussing something slightly different today. So Brandi is our head of agent success and head growth advisor here. And what we're discussing today is we talk a lot about what's happening inside the proverbial four walls of DJ&Lindsey Real Estate, but no one knows what's going on outside of the walls more than this beautiful lady right here to the left of me. So, Brandi, welcome back. Welcome to the vault, actually, for the first time.
Thank you. You make us sound so sheltered. None of us know.
Well, it's just that's kind of like we talk more internally, right? Like we do kind of discuss things that are happening, whether with DJ with NAR and some things happening, kind of like big picture stuff, but like really granularly, it's hard to kind of get inside the mind of an agent because rarely do people just call and be like, yeah, it's been terrible. Like,
they don't do that.
Right. So, everybody talks about wins and then people try and go on Facebook and they're like, I'm going to bare my soul here for a second. And then they go into it. But I want to get into kind of what you're hearing. I mean, you talk to an insane amount of agents every single week, probably more than most agents in production and their showings and their deals and et cetera. So what's kind of the big narrative now that as this looming NAR thing happens, in 2 months?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I'm hearing is that they're not talking about it.
Interesting.
It's just this really like impending sense of doom. And because a lot of brokerages are cloud-based at this point, people are just kind of independent and autonomous, working from their home offices and not knowing what's going to happen next. Lots of apprehension, lots of fear. That's a big word, but lots of fear about what's going to happen next. And that's because they're not having the conversations.
So no one has really had like a sit down with either their broker or a team leader and was like, hey, this is what's happening. This is how we're being proactive about it. Or here's actually what it means. It's not affecting you. It is affecting you. There's been none of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say none of it. It's just that the agents that I am talking to, it's just maybe there's not a lot of one-on-one. And I don't know a lot of other brokerages where that accessibility is there, right? Like I have DJ&Lindsey's numbers in my contact list.
Right.
If I need to call Brittany, our managing broker, then I do that and I ask the questions. And so that accessibility isn't necessarily available as far as I can hear.
Interesting. Do you think that brokers are scared of this, or they're kind of just like, it's every man for themselves. I just need to have more agents the more I have, the more likely it is to transact.
Well, everybody talks about like the fear of the unknown, right? And so I don't know if they're scared about what's going to happen, or maybe they're just not as informed. We have Lindsey, who is obsessed with all things real estate legal, right?
She's in it.
She was months ago sending me like, watch this podcast or watch this legal advisor talk about this. And so she's been in it for months.
Yeah. For
months. In these four walls, we've been prepping. We've been doing the objection handling. We've been doing the role playing. We have the contracts ready to go. And we've been talking about how to articulate those in the best way. Now, when I talk to agents outside of this agency, not only are they not having those conversations, but I think there's a lot of apprehension because maybe those contracts, that objection handling, those role playing scenarios aren't happening.
Yeah, right. Because, I mean, realistically, who are you going to bounce that role play? I mean, obviously, like you have these smaller cliques, but for the most part, there are teams that are hosted under brokerages, but it's rare that people share secrets outside of those or even share skill sets or, et cetera, because it's a dogfight. I mean, so just this past weekend, Matt was giving me a hand at my house, and we happened to run into my neighbor. Also, his name's Matt, and he was just saying how he re-signed his lease for a year because he is unsure, kind of like what the real estate market's doing. He's unsure of the election, and the main thing he said he was unsure is he had spoken like haphazardly with 3 different agents. All 3 of them told him them contradicting things, and he goes, so I didn't really A, know how to make sense of it. B, I didn't like overly trust what I was hearing. I kind of like I know what kind I can read, but like at the same time, I don't know. And 3, he's like, it seemed like they all were just trying to step on top of one another so that I would just use them. So he was like, there was definitely a part of like, tell me what I wanted to hear, but also like, I needed to start doing stuff now. And I'm just like, move whenever you're ready to move, right? Buy a house whenever you're ready to buy a house. But like, definitely work with somebody who's not lying to you.
Well, it's super cutthroat out there, and everybody wants to gatekeep what they know works.
Yeah, big time.
For sure. I just talked to an agent today that called through the Zillow line. She works for Keller Schmilliams in Tennessee.
Schmilliams.
And she was calling because her and her husband are potentially looking at buying a place. They are here a couple times a year, and she came through the Zillow line to one of our agents.
Right.
Instead of
reaching out to a network or reaching out right through the Schmilliams. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, so you bring up a good point too, is that's how our agents are just I don't want to say in disregard, right? Because I don't want to just completely make it seem like it's not affecting us, but like that's how unaffected these agents are by this news. Like they've shifted. This is the new way of doing things. This is how we're going to prove our value. These are the things we're going to do. But their phones are still ringing of people wanting to buy and sell. They are still transacting. I mean, we'll get into it in a little bit, but I look at some of the top 10 numbers from other brokerages and then look at ours and I'm like, what? Like it's not even close.
So
like, it's wild.
I love that you said that because that Jacksonville, the Business Journal came out with all those numbers.
Yes.
And I was obsessed the other night about going over those numbers because it's so good to know what the competition looks like. That's healthy to know what's out there. I always advocate for new or tenured agents to check out the competition because having that knowledge and insight can only benefit you.
Right.
And our numbers were staggeringly different.
Absolutely wild. So to fill you in on what Brandi's referencing is last week, the Jacksonville Business Journal published, we are the number 1 team in Jacksonville by a slight margin. So we're the number 1 team, and obviously there's number 2 below us. The difference between us and number 2 was $400 million worth of real estate.
You betcha.
And I think almost 1,000 transactions.
And it wasn't even that like the next direct competitor. It was if you look at like the big box brokerage, their numbers didn't come close. And I attribute so much of that to opportunity.
Right.
But you can dissect opportunity in infinite ways. Mm-hmm. But like I live in Nocatee. I visited the Nocatee resident office the other day because I wanted to know like how many out-of-state buyers were still moving into Nocatee, Florida. Nocatee, Florida just got rated like number 1 place to raise a family.
1 or 2, yeah.
It was crazy. So I was like, how many people are? And she said over 75% of brand new residents are still coming from out of state.
Out of state, wow.
Those out-of-state buyers are finding out about Nocatee and setting appointments to see homes, whether it's virtually or in person, online. So who's getting access to those leads, those opportunities?
Right, exactly. It's us, obviously, as you know. You've listened to us. We have one of the largest partnerships with Zillow, Realtor.com, OpCity. You know, the list goes on and on. All of our different lead funnels, but all those opportunities funnel to agents, and you are in charge of trying to find other agents who are capable enough to handle that, because it's not just this like, hand raise. Yeah, I'll do it. It's like a grind. I mean, like these are like highly skilled, highly educated, very well-tooled agents, and it's not built for everybody.
No, it's not. And I think a lot of agents have been HGTV'd. They have false expectations about real estate, what real estate looks like. It's not this autonomous career path that you step into and then all of a sudden make $100,000 in your first couple of months. And we've all seen like the success stories, and people negate the fact that those are outliers. You need to work so hard, and in order to be successful here, you do need to be a hard worker. You need to have certain skills that afford you the opportunity to be successful, you need to be articulate. And you need to be good at sales, because that's what this is.
Right.
And sales isn't for everybody. You need a certain amount of grit, thick skin, things like that. It's definitely not for everybody, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, because we're in this weird crossroads now, because the whole NAR settlement, it's going to come into question, is displaying the compensation through the MLS, etc. It's always been who is going to be the number one person that asks you for a discount, and it's going to be your friends and family. Now, there is a real chance where the discount is 100% discounted, because you don't know the house you're showing if there's any compensation. It's unethical to discuss that compensation with the agent on the other side. And then 2, you're going to have to turn around and ask the people who are the most likely, statistically, the most likely to ask you for a discount to cover your fee. Mm-hmm. That's a hard conversation.
For sure. But
then when you do that once, that's how you make a living now.
Yes. And I think that's why it's so important that we have the mentors that we have here. Brett Moreland can negotiate anything. Sean Gard came over from a mountain of commercial experience, which that's what they do. Right. They negotiate their commissions every single time. So I love that these guys are mentoring hands-on our agents that wouldn't necessarily know how to say the words in the right way, but to hold their own, to establish value in the transaction, and to be able to negotiate their commissions. Mm-hmm. We celebrate those wins all the time.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up, because I just the other day heard, I think it was Brittany working alongside Sean and one of our agents to overcome a problem that seemed, it was like a mountain out of a molehill. Like, it seemed to the agent like this massive problem. I think within 7 minutes, Brittany had it solved, and we were back. I don't think we ever came out from under contract, but they were back under contract and we're making the purchase. And I literally think it was over a $5,000 dispute over like 2 pieces of furniture. And the main thing was, and here's why it's important, it was of a complete misunderstanding where the sellers didn't want to sell this one. The buyers didn't want it. And they both thought, each of them, like the opposite.
Oh, it was a communication issue.
It was a communication issue, which, again, because they were like, I'm not paying $5,000 to have this piece, to leave this piece. And they're like, I'm not paying $5,000 so that this piece can be removed. They're like, dude, they're saying you can't have it. I don't know where $5,000 came from, and the sofa's not staying. And they're like, oh, well, okay. Like, you were just about to lose your entire binder and potentially the house of your dreams over this. Like, think about the disservice you would have had from an agent if that wasn't completely thought through.
Can we just talk about real briefly the fact that our managing broker is so hands-on like that?
Well, yeah, right.
Not only does the leadership, they're not in production with company leads at all, right? They're literally here to help the agents transact
100%.
Hands-on. And so many agents right now, going back to your first question about, what does the conversation look like on the other end? A lot of agents are primarily representing buyers. They don't have any listing experience. Right. So they're very scared. If you're not listing, you're not earning, right? That's kind of the mantra that this NAR litigation is bringing. So right now, with our agents, we're having them kind of go with each other, right? Mm-hmm. Gain that experience. Let's co-list some, things like that, right, so that our agents, even if they're brand new in their first year of real estate, are gaining that experience with tenured, experienced mentors and agents, co-listing together, putting their name out there. They're able to network that way. And I know that we fall under DJ&Lindsey, but it is very much, it's kind of like a brand. Like, we're all buyers, agents, and listing agents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a large brand, just like any other 2 names in real estate, where you're building your business underneath, right? I mean, like, everybody does it. Unless you're a broker or you have your own brokerage, you're building your name or your team or your business underneath somebody else's brokerage. That's the way real estate works.
Right.
Right. So, but you brought up a great point, is the fact that some of these newer agents and younger agents now are building alongside of top producing agents, because that's the way we've structured the business, that you will literally be handheld on listings, on buyers' presentations, on those things, to be able to make sure that you will survive. On the flip side, it's, yeah, you can't make your own hours. You can't do whatever you want. You can't be at the beach on a Tuesday at 3 p.m., but like neither can any other successful person. So that's the that's the trade-off.
Right.
Yeah.
For opportunities, we're going to ask you to prospect and keep a clean system.
Well, or just answer and service the opportunities.
Yeah.
Like if someone asks to go see a house, like unfortunately you're going to have to go show them the house and then write the contract and then close and then get paid versus like just answer the phone, tell people you're in real estate, but really be at the beach at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Sure.
Back to the top of our conversation, though, I want to hear a little bit more about like things you are hearing on the outside. You had mentioned kind of off air, like when you do talk to these agents, just by you remaining kind of silent, agents do kind of like spew and roll out. Is there like anything just like bananas that you heard or you hear time and time again where you're like, this is crazy?
So I do think that a lot of brokerages practice just dirty politics. I hate saying that. They talk a lot of smack. I can't remember that Beyonce quote, but like being on top,
right?
You get kind of crapped on a lot, and I find that in talking to a lot of outside agents, dirty politics and talking negatively about any other brokerage isn't gonna benefit anybody.
Right.
Within your first specifically couple of years of real estate, you're going to mature as an agent.
Sure.
And your priorities are going to change and what you need from your brokerage is going to change. And so it's kind of in my day when I talk to tenured agents that are with brokerages and they're like, well, I've heard this and I've heard that, specifically about DJ&Lindsey. I encourage them to tell me what they're hearing because it's interesting to me about how negative these conversations are, and it's just about what we provide, and it's different than what they're used to.
So like something so to specify, I'm sure there's probably discussion of like they make you do things or that you're made to do things when in reality that's somebody taking accountability and putting a negative spin on it.
Sure.
So how the police hold the public accountable by having laws and you not being able to break them. That's how we hold ourselves accountable, right?
Yes.
Like
one of the big ones is I don't want to sit and cold call all day. But I would I would say that our agents don't cold call at all. We have a leads pool full of intentional consumers and sellers that have set appointments with high intent online. And what we're doing is following up with those individuals.
Just from being here, so we've been talking now for 17 minutes. I've had 4 listing inquiries come in through our listing portal that we had set up 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Are you going to go ahead and cold call those?
I'm not going to cold call them. What's actually happening is they sharked to people who are on shift, our agents, and the agents are claiming them.
Yes.
And then are calling those people, setting appointments, calling, texting, communicating with them, however they deemed was their, method of communication. But they're just contacting that person because that person literally just raised their hand and said, hey, I need to sell my house in less than 6 months. This is what the assessed, automated value is. What can we do with this? And then an agent's going to call them and say, okay, let's look at kind of some numbers and see where you're at. That's literally there's 4 of them came through in short timelines.
You betcha.
Yeah, it's pretty bananas. Aside from that, kind of what else are you hearing in this space? What are some of the biggest, what's some of the biggest things you'd see when you're talking to somebody where you're like, this person's going to have a really tough time making it on the outside?
Yeah, if they don't like talking to people. I get some really shy applicants where they're like, I don't know, if I just want to talk to people on the phone, but I think that's a lot of what real estate is making those connections, building that rapport. And if you can't build rapport in this industry, then they're probably going to find an agent that can.
Right. That's a good point. So being able to talk to people, being able to talk on the phone, super huge trait in order to be able to be successful in real estate.
Yes.
What else? What do you got? pretty much it. I mean, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, is that like, if you literally can talk to people, you can be successful in real estate. But for some reason, there's been this like huge weird thing where like they make you call people. I'm like, okay, so what's the difference between calling someone, nay, answering the phone, or hearing you should go door knock a neighborhood?
I'll tell you, Todd, I tried door knocking when I was first licensed, and I was not well received. I don't think many door knockers are well received.
And I've always said this, and I always preface it by saying this is my personal opinion, but I don't think I've ever answered the door like from an unsolicited person and it's been good. And I've been like, thank God this person that I didn't invite, had no clue what they're trying to sell or whatever, is at my door. And even better yet, it's not even someone trying to sell me equipment to put on the roof of my house that I love, that I can get to stay in. They're asking me to leave it.
Yeah.
They're literally asking me to leave this house. I have no intention of it.
Sure.
And not only did this person, like, I'm not talking to them on the phone. I didn't get a flyer. They're literally at my front door.
Well, I think that's how traditional style real estate, like, people think that's how it's supposed to go, right? You have to door knock or cold call or just call expireds and FSBOs, or you need to send out a bunch of super expensive mailers. Right. Do you keep your mailers when they come in the mail? I
always keep my mailers. I don't even keep the mailers that we get when they come in as proofs that I send out in my curated, targeted marketing. I don't even keep those.
I get, what is that? The social magazine or something?
We get, so yeah, we get the, we're on the back of St. John's, St. Augustine, and the Ponte Vedra social.
I get those, and I say hi to mom and dad, and then I throw it away.
Yeah, and that's a campaign we are on month 11 or 12 of, if we're not already on, like, coming up on 13, because when we sat down with DJ&Lindsey, we were discussing it. Matt, who's on the other side of this camera, we were discussing kind of like what the print marketing campaigns were going to look like alongside the billboards. What's the commitment, what's the financial commitment, but what's the timely commitment, what we're going to do, right? That all matters, right? Because there's no such thing as, hey, we got a billboard and we were on the back of a magazine and we saw nothing. It's like, how often are they going to see you?
Can you imagine being a single agent and trying to pay for all that on your own?
Yeah, I've seen there's one locally who has, I want to say maybe two or three billboards, and that's like the only places I've ever seen him. Like, there's no call to action on it, but I don't see him digitally anywhere. I don't see him in any other print material. I don't see him like in any sort of mailing scape anywhere. I don't see him on Google. I don't even see him on, like, when you go on to Zillow or Realtor, it kind of like will show you like who your local thing is. I've like never even seen his photo there. So I don't know what he's spending on them. I know what he's spending on them because I know what we spend on our billboards. Sure. And I would love to know the return. Again, I don't dig through the MLS and I don't transact, so I don't know like, oh yeah, I've seen blah, blah, blah. But like, that's the only three places I've seen that person.
I think besides marketing and what people are spending out of pocket, I think that's one of the best things, like one of my favorite things to talk about when I do talk to other agents, because they're always astounded that we cover marketing, print, signage, lockboxes, professional photography, drone work, all of it, website. We cover all that, and then we don't charge a monthly fee. We don't charge an office. Like this beautiful office.
Yes.
Somebody asked me today, came in and toured, and they were like, "What is the monthly on this?" And I was like,
yeah, like monthly for us or monthly for you? Because those are two different numbers.
I don't care what the monthly for you is.
I was going to say, those are two different numbers, but right, the monthly for you, right, is a big old fat goose egg because the company doesn't make money. So a pyramid scheme is by taking money from its employees in order to run the business and to keep the business afloat. So like any other pyramid scheme, let's just use a famous one. Bernie Madoff took money from Peter to pay Paul. That's not an investment. That's a bank kind of, but like that's neither here nor there. You giving us money to keep the lights on, how successful could that possibly be? And at what point do the chickens come home to roost? It's not a business. So my point being is that
I'm learning so much.
Yeah, those services, the services and all that, if we were to collect money on those things up front, the business would be in such a downward spiral because of how irresponsibly it would be asking its agents to spend.
Sure.
And then they're like, okay, well, now I don't have any money, so my motive is just make money, not compete in a long game of setting up business that's going to transact and keep pushing a ball downfield. And that's where we get into this weirdness of like why agents are failing at 87% is because they spend a ton of money with no return, no plan or anything. And the broker or the team lead just sits there and just said, it's the market.
Yeah. But can we talk about the splits? Why people find like that's going to be the number one thing we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the splits. What are your splits? It's always my number one question. My DMs are filled with loan officers and what are your splits? Those are like the that's what my DMs look like. So people don't do the math entirely, right? They look at the hypothetical of I want to close $1 million in sales this year, and so my take home is going to be X. They don't look at the whole situation as how am I going to find the opportunity to close that $1 million, right? So I'm at 100%. I'm gonna make 100% of my commission in my first few closings. Great. So that 100% on zero is gonna feed your family. How? And I hate to be that direct. I feel like that's like a mean way to put it, but earning $0 on 100% split will get you nowhere.
Right. Well, so it's funny that you brought that up because a team leader, 2-3 years ago, Matt, we like secret shopped an open forum. And we were listening to a team leader. It was like an open recruiting forum, basically. He was holding like a Ask Me Anything, and we secret shopped it. Before AI was any big deal, Matt and I were head of AI. I made a bunch of AI people.
That's sweet.
But yeah, no, it's whatever. But either way, we secret shopped it. And the advice given from this team leader, 100% team leader, was if you just got $1 million listing, your business could turn around that fast. You know what else could turn your business around that fast? Winning the lottery.
Yes.
So if you just put your eggs in that basket,
perfect.
It'll be fine. You'll do great.
That gets me excited.
It could turn around like that. But listen, so again, it's very alarming to hear how you are saying that the discussion is little, of the settlement that is happening. It's very hush-hush. And if they have heard, it's nothing reinforcing, nothing encouraging. It's just like
we'll see what happens.
Right.
Better get some listings.
And the amount of opportunity that we are getting that you are hearing from other agents who are like, what? That's real? I'm like, everybody just talks about the market. But I'm like, I don't even know if anybody here is even worried about the market.
I don't think so.
Like, I don't even think we say the word market.
And with that Jacksonville Business Journal that just came out, like I preach, like our first year agents are closing 20 homes on average. And the instant response is usually, that's not true. And I was so happy to see that number was valid, like in print.
Yeah.
21.6 per year. That's first year. Like that's just.
It's bananas. And actually, so at the end of last week, I was going to post about it, but I had gotten the email late Thursday. So I didn't want to like rush and throw it in on Friday, but I'm going to have something scheduled this week. Is we were also just named the top 3 of the community's best choice in Jacksonville as well.
Spare hands.
Yeah. The agents in this office are absolutely killing it. They're slinging real estate because of the opportunity here. And the best part is they get the opportunity to sling real estate here because of people like you.
Aw, don't do that. I'll blush.
Yeah. No. Well, listen, we're super thankful for you. You keep filling these walls with incredibly hardworking, kind people. Everybody seems to work very well together. and they don't just get to walk in the door. They have to walk in front of you first.
Well, I don't gatekeep, and I appreciate the fact that DJ set the bar high. You know, he told me months ago, he said, I want people that you would go to dinner with. And I'm like, perfect. I want to work with people that I'd like to go to dinner with too.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is that why would you want to work with somebody who's not – it's like that group project, you know, where like everybody's supposed to do their things and all of a sudden the due date's 2 days away and there's that one person who hasn't done their work and then the other 3 people have to pick it up. Yeah, we don't want those people.
Right.
We want the people who want to do the work for the group project.
Yeah, and just good, decent people.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. That comes with it. But usually...
but just basically really hard workers.
Yeah, right, which is really hard workers. Well, because I think that the general point and consensus is good people do the right thing, and the right thing here is to not cut corners so that it benefits you only and kind of stiffs 3 other people. Because that's kind of how the model works here, right? It's like you do 80% of the work, and then all of a sudden you do literally 20% of the work because you're under contract now, and then an entire team is handling everything else that happens.
Yeah.
So now your focus shifts from that 80% workload to 20%, and there's all these other people. So for you to cut corners and be like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so is going to do it, like their job doesn't need to be hard. We don't want those people.
Right.
Right. We want people that are like, I'm doing it this way because I know that when I send 7 more deals over to Dana, Brandi, whoever it is their way, Emily, I want them to have the best job. I want their job to be easy. I want them to be able to do their job, not like, hey, we're always having to pick up after this person. Like, we just don't want that energy here. It doesn't jive well here. Those people aren't winners. And I think it was Nick Saban said it, winners want to be around other winners.
Yeah, and statistically, you're going to end up being the median of the most successful and the least successful person around you. So we want people that want to be surrounded by that success and find that success super fast themselves. I will say, I think coming July, August, and I know it's going to be a slow burn, but this market is going to become much less saturated with real estate agents that are doing it part-time. Mm-hmm. And I can only see that benefiting this specific real estate brokerage. You know, the days of somebody's wife doing it part-time on occasion, I think that's done. I think we're only going to see full-time agents, and I'm really excited about that because we have great rapport with full-time agents, whether they're here or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And making friends in this business can only benefit. Like, you want somebody friendly on the other side of that transaction. That's why I always encourage, you know, whether you're shopping around for brokerages or not, have the conversation because making friends in this business can only benefit everybody across the board.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard tales of, you know, agents accepting our offer over other offers because they're like, dude, we know it's just going to get done.
Yeah, for sure it's going to get done.
Like, we're accepting the DJ&Lindsey agent's offer because we just know, like, it's getting to the closing table. There's just no, like, there's no wishy-washy, like, super straightforward. You know what you're getting. You know the goal of this operation is to sell houses, whether it be from a customer standpoint, agent standpoint, or staff standpoint. The goal is to sell houses.
And I gotta say, I love the fact that DJ&Lindsey have structured this company based on what has and hasn't worked for them. Mm-hmm. In their careers, right? We're a small family-owned brokerage that can pivot when we need to. Right. Big or small. So
that was the biggest thing he actually brought up when we were at Tom Ferry at Summit. That was a question that came up a bunch, which was, you know, why independent? And his response was the fact that I can make changes if I need to benefit my entire company without having to cater to other, you know, people at the top. He's like, if we need to steer the boat in a different direction, we have the power to do that.
There's no shareholder meetings here.
None of that. He's just like, we have the power to do that, so I don't have to wait and see people dropping out or families unfed or whatever. He's like, I can make decisions so that they benefit my staff, my agents, just my company in general.
Yeah. And the disciplined, the
discipline. And so it's when DJ was just sitting there 2 weeks ago, we were talking about people trying all these things. And I was like, I think if you've tried marketing, you've tried cold calling, you've tried door knocking, you've tried like all these shiny objects, I guarantee you the number 1 and number 2 things you haven't tried are accountability and discipline.
Yeah. Yes. Keep doing what works.
and consistently, that's discipline. If you need somebody to, so we'll leave discipline and accountability at this. Why do people hire a trainer? Do you think people hire a personal trainer because they don't know exercises or they can't find exercises on the internet? No, it's because it's harder to cancel on someone you are paying than canceling on yourself and just being like, I won't go. Literally, you're paying someone to hold you accountable to come to the gym.
Right. And I know a lot of great successful agents that have found, coaching and things like that for themselves. And they're like, aha, it's time blocking, or aha, it's marketing. Oh, it's leads that I need. But everything is here. Like we literally are a one-stop shop for everything you need.
Right. All those spokes are all here. But the main thing comes from if you have no dedication to whatever your why is, and you're going to keep that in line, it's like you could have all the coolest shit around. But if you're not doing it, what does it matter, right? It's like you could have the best car ever, but if it just sits in your garage, sweet, awesome.
Let's take a selfie with it.
Yeah, like cool. No one's going to see it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's crazy frustrating to see that. And I mean, power to you. You hear a lot of these stories and you speak to a lot of these people, and I can't imagine they always start super uplifting, but knowing you, I'm sure they end very uplifting.
No.
No. Yeah. No, but I mean, you're a very positive person. I think that's one of the things that really kind of opens people's eyes to this company is like, oh wow, like there are people like you that work here. Then they come here, they start working here, and they're like, okay, wow, it's super incredible, but like also I just made a ton of money, so it's like I don't understand. And real quick before we wrap up, and Matt doesn't have a microphone, but he told me this story, and I'll try and jump really quick. He was sitting in the Jacksonville office, and he was talking to an agent who was coming in for closing, and he was just having a normal discussion. And the guy left off with, "Wow, this place is actually pretty cool. Wonder why people say weird stuff about you guys." And like totally just changed in a 6-minute conversation with Matt, completely changed his entire thought process and demeanor on this because he realized, wow, I'm just hearing like a bunch of hate from other haters, and like that's totally not how it is.
Matt's great.
But I mean, even somebody like Matt was able to turn around. No, but I'm saying like but just that, right? Just somebody just from our marketing department, just one person, not an agent who you're bumping into every day. It's just one single person has the mantra of just be a totally normal, nice person to strangers. Matt, I'm sure probably knew he obviously wasn't with this company, but had no clue the company or brokerage he was with, but was just simply talking to him as though he was just another person on the other side of a desk, which is exactly what he was.
I think people have a false expectation about what we are because we do so much real estate.
Well, they think we're huge.
Yeah,
they think we're massive.
Yeah, I talked to an agent that's with a big box brokerage, and he's like, I get pummeled by your recruiting team. And I was like, I'm the recruiting team.
Yeah, I'll tell them to keep it down.
I'm not spam. It's me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I think that's a huge thing is that we are not huge. We are just elite. And that's all it is.
And tenacious.
But we're elite, right? That's what we said from the get-go. It's it's easy if you work hard.
For sure.
It's not easy if you want the life that you see on Netflix.
And if I can send a special message out to all of those local agents that I haven't spoke to.
Right into this camera.
No, I just creepy smile. Negate that part. But but really, I am here for insight, and I really just want to meet you because, like I said earlier, making friends in this business can only benefit both sides of the transaction.
I love it. Well, Brandi, we love you. Obviously, you know it. We got our work cut out. The phones are blowing up. Emails blowing up.
Call now.
The website's blown up because I think you're right. It's just the loudness of the silence of what is looming is just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And we can see that very clearly from our presence, our monitoring metrics, our analytics on activities. Like, people are starting to get worried pretty quickly, and I think it's really going to come to a head here. And hopefully you're not on the wrong side of it. Not you. You being not inside this building.
Perfect.
But anyway, Brandi, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thanks for always being super professional.
Chat in the outside world. All right. This podcast is probably sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great way to listen to books instead of reading them because you're a super busy real estate agent. So you can get our referral link in the description below. I think it's tryaudible.com/DJ&Lindsey or tryaudible.com.DJ&Lindsey, something like that. But Matt's going to put it in the description, so it doesn't matter. Thanks so much, guys. Peace. Nice. Or keep them on. No, I'm just kidding.